I had a pretty good idea of what this diorama would be, but sometimes I like to start with something small, like the main characters, so I can just jump in and get going. So for this build, I figured I should just go print out a Sailor Moon and a Luna model on my resin printer for maximum detail. Since Luna was so tiny and so cute, I had to start with her. Support removal was easy. Isn't she cute? Painting her was pretty simple since she's basically just a black cat, but she does have some tiny details like eyes, pink ears, and mouth, and of course her signature yellow moon. Painting her tiny little eyes wasn't as easy, but just take your time, control your breathing, and go slow. Moving on to Sailor Moon. First up is support removal. This isn't difficult as resin supports are super thin and usually come off easy. But she had a lot and she was delicate, so I just took my time cutting away at the supports until she was free. Well, isn't she adorable? Supports sometimes leave little nubs behind, and this little micro rotary sander makes smoothing those out very easy. It's a dream. After priming her, I airbrushed on a flesh color and then went in to hand paint the rest of the colors on her. It took a little while, but I actually really enjoy this jerry work like this. Next up, it was time to make the base, so I cut some MDF for the base. Well, I had him cut the MDF, as the table saw, stop or not, freaks her out. I then cut things to length with the miter saw, which doesn't freak her out as much. The base is just a rectangle, but the arcade building needs structure, so I cut 4 pieces of MDF that would become the sides of the building. Basically, concrete columns on either side of the storefront. I glued 2 of the 4 pieces together to make one side column of the arcade, then repeated that for the other side. The nails just make it hold together while the glue dries fully. That way I could keep moving forward rather than waiting while it fully dried. So if you don't have all these fun and fancy tools, a simple bottle of wood glue, a clamp, and some patience is all you really need. The arcade should have some horizontal grooves cut in them to match the detail lines from the reference image. Working upside down, the sides got glue and nailed into the base. I needed more bits like a roof, a ceiling for the overhang, and a front wall, so I used some 1/8 inch birch plywood and cut some rectangles on the bandsaw for these parts. You don't need a full wood shop to make projects like this. So if you don't have tools like this or even access to wood, just use a cardboard and some white glue or hot glue. The piece that will become the ceiling on the overhang gets holes drilled for some fancy recessed lighting that will come later. While the glue dries on that part, I was able to assemble the roof panel with glue and a few brad nails. And here's the base so far. Back in the hobby room, I worked some spackle into the nail holes as well as the front edges of the MDF. This lightweight spackle is super easy to use, dries fast, and is easily sanded once dry. When it gets into areas you don't want, like those shallow cuts in the concrete sides, it scrapes out easily with a screwdriver or a little dental tool that are cheap on Amazon. MDF is easy to work with, but it doesn't take paint very well on the edges. A little spackle on the edges of the base solves that problem. I work the spackle in with my hands, and as it dries, I can smooth it with a finger, then sand as needed, and scrape out the corners where it likes to accumulate. Once the spackle was dry and sanded, I primed the base and then gave it a coat of black 3.0. Oh, wait, sorry. I went into boil-eye hobby mode for a second there. I have no idea why paints have version numbers, but it always cracks me up when he says that. I'm using cheap craft paint for stuff like this, so it's black 1.0, I guess. But I like this black look on the edges and sides, so credit to boil-eye hobby time for that little trick. Thanks! Outside the front of the arcade are two signs which I designed, 3D printed and primed, and hand painted. The sign graphic will be a photo that we'll cover in a bit. The signs are similar but not identical, so I made them like the reference images for the most part. Using a photo printer, I cut out graphics from screenshots of the sign and resized them to fit all the signs I made. Best to cut them slightly large, test fit and trim as needed, and repeat until they fit, and repeat, and repeat. Then glue them in. This is a great way to get detail that would be very difficult otherwise. The large signs above the arcade were done the same way. You can't have a storefront without large glass doors for the looters to throw things through when the zombie apocalypse hits. Sorry, wrong show. The Crown Arcade has large glass windows and doors in the front, so I 3D printed frames for those, as well as the signs up top, and painted them in a silvery metal color to give them an aluminum look, or aluminium for our UK friends. I made the glass from plastic packaging, the heavy-duty clamshell kind that so many products come packaged in. The plastic was glued with tacky glue to the backside of my 3D printed frames. Moving on to the best part, the lighting! I use super tiny nano LEDs, which have these impossibly tiny wires I have to solder to a battery pack. It's easy enough, but so tiny. The LEDs then get hot glued into tiny recessed can lights I 3D printed, and those get hot glued into the ceiling of the overhang. I then hot glued in a popsicle stick so it would hold the wires in place. It's not pretty back there, but you'll never see it, so who cares? Hey, stop looking back there. I said you'll never see it. And like that, the arcade is all wired up. Look how cool those lights look. Sorry, did you miss it? Don't worry, we'll come back to that soon. It's time for the final assembly, and the entire reason I wanted to try my hand at this build, and that is to see how this fake background idea works. I didn't want to model the interior for this one, since that would make the diorama deeper than I wanted it, so instead wanted to try faking an interior with a photo. I had AI make a quick arcade interior, as you can see here. Yeah, I know, not true to the show. That's okay. This isn't about that. It's about having fun and putting my creative twist on things. So I have the background image, which gets hot glued in place with a curve in it, so it helps sell the illusion of depth. I used the same AI photo and made a floor and ceiling too that get glued horizontally below and above the vertical curved backdrop photo. These just help hide gaps and light leaks more than anything. I glued a piece of cardboard to the back to help protect the photos that I just installed, and that makes it look a bit less messy back there. See, I told you wouldn't see back there. Now stop looking! The last step is to superglue the characters and signs into place. Did your eagle eye spot what I did with that one street sign? Clever girl, huh? Branding, baby. Ready for the final result? Let's go! I really hope you enjoyed this and will like and subscribe to help her out. See you on the next one, which promises to get a little swampy. Too vague. Need a bigger hint? Uh-oh, choppers! Leave your guesses in the comments.